20 minutos por orador. Serguei obviamente va a tener un poco más y a él le podemos hacer algunas preguntas, pero por ahí en el break nos podemos ir 15 minutos más con preguntas y respuestas. O sea, a mí me encantaría responder las dos preguntas que hicieron. Principalmente, concuerdo con Gaby, la desventaja es que IOTA todavía no está lista para producción y Bitcoin, con sus limitaciones sí. Pero bueno, lo hablamos en el break de última porque realmente no nos alcanza el tiempo. Bueno, la presentación que hice yo, como persona que claramente este no es mi oficio, obvié hablar un poco de Serguei, que es quien va a presentar a continuación, contar un poco. Él es cofundador de IOTA, es un matemático brasilero, él se acercó a IOTA desde su campo, él trabaja desde la matemática. A Serguei no le gusta que le pregunten cosas que no tienen que ver estrictamente con su campo. Si bien él sabe y entiende muchas cosas porque estuvo en el ámbito de blockchain a lo largo de muchos años, su fuerte es ese. No sé de qué nos va a hablar Serguei, pero bueno, me olvidé de presentar nada más ni nada menos que a Serguei, que es nuestro invitado de honor. Así que bueno, Serguei, acá están tus Sharpies, tus fibras y todo tuyo. Boss, do you want to use the blackboard? Do you want to use the blackboard? You don't know. Okay. I'm going to put it here just in case. Okay, as you wish.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Daniel, for inviting me here. It's always very nice to be in Buenos Aires, Malbec, big beefy de chorizo, so it's very good. So I think I will start by talking a bit about history. So as Daniel told you, I'm a research mathematician. I was born in Russia. I made my PhD in Moscow, but just shortly after that I moved to Brazil, São Paulo. And well, first I was a postdoc, then assistant professor. I had all this academic career in Brazil. And some time ago, in the end of 2013, more or less, I've seen an article about Bitcoin, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna mine it and become rich. Then unfortunately, you know that in the end of 2013 it was a bit difficult already to do it. So I started reading about other cryptocurrencies, because already at that time there were several hundreds of them, maybe. And one cryptocurrency that drew my attention was NXT, because it was, well, different. It was not a clone of Bitcoin. It had a really different concept, different consensus. Instead of proof of work, you know, it was a proof of stake. It was kind of first pure proof of stake coin. Well, anyway, I missed the ICO of NXT by 2 weeks, but still I kind of entered the community, started to read forums, started to talk with people. Then at some moment I made some calculations about the blockchain of NXT, some really back of back of envelope calculations, nothing really advanced. Well, so I wrote them down, then put on the forum, and people say, "Wow, that looks great. Can't understand anything, but it looks great. Please write more." Okay, so kind of people started to respect me for some reason, and I started to talk to a lot to this guy. You may know him. Okay. Who else wants one of those? Okay, we'll make a lottery after that. So, you know, it was an interesting story on its own, because the founder of NXT was an anonymous guy called BC Next, and he communicated to the world mainly through Come From Beyond with Serguei and well, after that it turned out that it was the same person actually, but still there are people who don't believe it. Okay, they still think that BC Next there will be a second coming of BC Next who will fix everything. Well, I don't know. But anyway, I started to talk a lot with this guy from the picture, and then in the beginning of 2015. It was time for him to start a new project, and he and, well, David Zonstebe, who was also an active member of NXT community, they invited me just to be the theory guy of the project. So well, I said yes. Of course, it's very interesting. I like the idea. Now, let's see what do you want? What we can do? And Sergei, Come From Beyond, told me, okay, we have a project called Amaranth, not IOTA. And we want to devise a system which would not have transaction fees, because, well, if you want to do microtransactions of, I don't know, fractions of cents, it would not be logical to pay $1 fee for transaction of 1 cent, so you have to get rid of the fees somehow. And he presented to me a solution, this Amaranth thing, and I looked at the solution, and I told him, no, this will not work, because, well, it's completely stupid. And then he said, okay, let's then invent something that will work. And well, it took us maybe half a year, at least 4 months, to come up with something similar to IOTA. Okay, that's more or less the story. Oh. So since then, I think you know more or less how it was. Come From Beyond started coordinate, and I kind of came back to mathematics for a time. But then, thanks to the vision of Come From Beyond, of David, of Dominic, and of other people, IOTA started to grow a lot. I was really surprised. And now we are where we are now. So now you know that IOTA Foundation is a legal entity registered in Germany. And, you know, to be registered in Germany, it's not a trivial task. You know, it's really tough, because Ordnung muss sein. But on the other hand, if you are registered in Germany, people start respecting you. Germany. So now IOTA Foundation has, I don't know, more than 60 people, I guess. Around 12 or 15 maybe already are in the research department. There are, of course, developers and business guys, corporate liaisons as well. A lot of people, and all these people are really fantastic. Now I can tell it with total confidence, because in the beginning of July we had this IOTA summit in Norway, in a very in a country with a very hot weather called Norway. It was 30 degrees at the time. So there was a 1 week of activities and discussions, also drinking, and you know, a lot of fun. Before this event, we also had a research workshop on the weekend. It was 2 days of very intensive work, which focused mainly on what we call core decide. Core decide means killing the coordinator. So what I can say is that we more or less, well, really more than less, figured out how to do it. On the other hand, it will not be killed. We will just let it die slowly. The idea is that the transition will be gradual. It's not like how we press the red button and pray for the best. No, I think we found a way to make it gradual, and I cannot tell all the details by now, mostly because they are still in kind of disorganized form, so we have to write everything down, and then okay, you don't you usually don't advertise something which you cannot present in a really cool way. So first we will organize it, and then I hope in coming weeks that will be announced. The roadmap to the core site. Okay. So it's more or less that's it. So I really hope, I'm almost sure that IOTA has a bright future. At least I don't see any showstoppers. So, thank you. Por favor, preguntas. If possible in English or in Spanish, but pero despacio. Okay. It's exactly what I mentioned right now. It's called the coordinator. Basically, the coordinator is an entity which is run by IOTA Foundation, and currently, it issues transactions in the Tangle, and currently a transaction is considered confirmed if it is referenced directly or indirectly by one of the coordinator's transactions. Okay, so of course currently IOTA is not decentralized, but we are on good tracks to make it really decentralized. Oh, I have to say also that in IOTA, you need to have a big flow of, let me say, honest transactions to make it work. So right now, the network is still not big enough to. We don't really have Internet of fully functional Internet of Things at the moment, and anyway, one of the aspects of the core decide is that we won't rely solely on proof of work for it, because it's kind of risky. Someone can make an ASIC which can issue 1,000 transactions per second. So we need to devise other means of protecting the network. Well, but yes, that's it. Now the IOTA network is not fully decentralized. Yes, it is decentralized, but the finality of a transaction is determined by this centralized entity. But on the other hand, it will be removed. Yes, it will be decentralized once there is enough adoption, and also we complete this roadmap. Well, currently there is some small proof of work which must be attached to any transaction. You know, I don't remember how much does it take, but I think on a smartphone it's kind of half a minute, more or less. So it's not really comparable to Bitcoin. But if you think about the Internet of Things with these really small devices, this proof of work can be eventually replaced by proof of something, which can be, for instance, bandwidth. Because basically, if you are able to send transaction by in this environment, then you can send it. Then you can send transaction. Right? So, I mean, a proof of work is not absolute. The idea is to not to really move away from it, but to move away from it where it is necessary, to maintain it maybe where it can be maintained, but there will be other means of protecting the network. Sorry, can you say it again? Well, okay. So the question was about smart contracts, how it will be done in IOTA and so on. Well, it will be done through Cubic. Cubic, the big Q. When Cubic. Well, so I have to confess, I'm not a specialist in Cubic. I mean, I've heard some things. I will be reviewing the white paper of Cubic when I get home, but I don't participate in its development. So what I would advise that you go to cubic.iota.org, and there you will see a big text, a little bit generic, but with quite a lot of information, and you can, I hope you would be able to see what is Cubic, and well, so smart contracts will be there. Not exactly Ethereum style, but still. Okay. Huh? Say it again. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, it's yeah. Okay, so you are asking about the confirmation time. So, in principle, IOTA never promised instant confirmations. So it is simply impossible because of the network delays. So, I guess globally, if you think about really global network with delays of order of several seconds, I don't see how even in theory you could confirm a transaction in less than 1 second. So but well, you can on the other hand, IOTA has this kind of lightning network type thing, which is called MAN. So if you want to really establish a quick connection between two parties or not too many parties, you can use this. So you're not, I mean, you're not obliged to really wait for the global confirmation. Okay. Okay.